React. Discussing forms in React and how to use forms, basically what forms are and how to use them. Okay, so before we start, please, how many of you went through the material I posted that you guys should go through? All right, good. Okay, so please, if you did, that will be very nice. Yeah. Now it's actually going to, help us a lot with today's class. Okay. So since we'll be discussing forms, now sorry if I said the class, the resource I actually gave you guys was to help give an introduction to what forms are in React. So basically, help you guys understand what forms are and how forms work in React. So, as an introduction, basically HTML forms in HTML work differently from the way they do in React. So the way it actually works is that uh, forms naturally keep an internal state. Okay, what we mean by an internal state is that they tend to store the value of whatever that's actually being inputted inside them on their own. Okay, they tend to do this without, you know, having to contact, or let's say contact, or without having to use something like states on them. Okay, so because of that, whenever I want to work on a form with React, we have to do certain things. Actually, not just certain things. Now we have to make sure that we control the behavior of the form. Now, for those of us who are a little bit experienced with calling APIs, if you are trying to make a post request, say you're trying to submit a form, and once you try submitting that form without adding any JavaScript to it, you find out that that form actually reloads the page. And then if you did input any value inside that form, it actually shows at the top of at the address bar. That's where everything about it shows. Now, that in itself is a different, that in itself is something different entirely. And it would not necessarily be very good, okay, with React. So, uh, in most cases, what we tend to do is that we tend to use JavaScript, call a function that's going to handle submission, and then access data that the user has actually inputted in the form. And by doing that, we tend to prevent default and do whatever it is we want to do with the form before submitting the form and all that. Now, we can actually do that with React, and to do that with React, we use we use a technique called control components. Now, control components, like the narrative just tried to explain it, I was trying to do, is a way by which we could actually um, how do I put this? Is a way by which you could actually assess, use, manipulate, and in fact, whatever word it is, but as long as the word control is there, it means that we could actually control a form in React using this technique called control components. So is anybody receiving this anointing that is passing around? So I think we'll just dive into code a little. So right here, I have a class component. I'll just create a class component here and call this save. So if we, okay, I have already opened my live server, so I just need to come here and reload. Okay, so, all right, so this is basically what we have. um, let me see. Okay, so this is all we have now. Basically the way forms works, like I was trying to explain, using controlled components, is that we try to make it in such a way that React actually has access to the components, or let's say React has access to the form. Now, I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like, and that's going to be, let me create a React fragment here and do this, and inside this create a form tag. Now we do not need action. We are not taking any action yet. Uh, Now inside this, we not add our input, but now there's something about React that's actually very funny. Now, normally when we're using HTML, if we want to create an input, this is what we would have done. We would have said um, label, close this, we'll do a for equal to this, and then we'll give it a name. Let's say, for example, call this name. Now, here we can just say name. Then in the input, we just say put, now get type. Oh, sorry, dot type is text. Okay. Then here we'll now say either ID, yeah, name, and name. Now, normally we would do this with HTML. This is a basic form in HTML. But with React, it's a little bit different. Now, the reason why it's actually different is this. With HTML, with the four attributes, you could be able to click on the, what's it called, on the label here, and it actually affects the form because they are both connected using these four attributes and the ID. Okay, for React, something different actually occurs, or something different comes to mind. And now, that thing that actually comes to mind is the fact that we do not need this. Okay, now for one reason, this for is actually a keyword in JavaScript, and since you're using JSX, if I actually save this and check the browser, it will definitely return an error. Okay, so we don't necessarily need the four attributes. Okay, but what React actually does is something that's very funny. Trust me, it's not something you'd want, not something you think of out of the box naturally. So what React actually does is that React wraps the input using the label. So that way you're able to keep track of which label has which input. Okay, now to make this a little bit nice, let's see. So let me get this and put it inside a div. Okay, so um, let's see. Now inside here, we just add name, and this is input. And then outside here, we can add a submit button. Let's say type submit, and we just say submit. Okay, now, so this is all we could do. Then by doing this, we save this now and we check what we have. we have a simple basic form. Okay, now this form, let's see, let's open the developer console and let's see if we have anything else. Okay, so everything is working fine. Now, let's say, for example, we wanted to add states to this, or okay, not states, but let's say, for example, we wanted to, you know, um, submit this form per se. I don't know, I keep getting short of words. Let's say I want to submit a form. For example, now if you want to, log the name of the name that's submitted in this form to the console, or let's say, you know, to the console, or want to alert it out. So how would we go about that? Now, to do that, we could actually go about it this way. I believe the resource I gave you actually used functional components for most of the things. So like we we have been doing, I'm actually going to be showing you guys how to use for class components in doing a lot of things. Now the reason is because I want you guys to use see class components as something that's not difficult, something that you can actually use. Although it makes you write a lot of code, but with class components, you'll be able to understand why React actually behaves the way it does. The best way to actually understand something is actually going from scratch. If your foundations are actually solid enough, then there's nothing else that's going to be very difficult for you to carry. So that's the idea. All right, so first things first, we'll just add our constructor function, which will pass in props. And inside here, we'll add super. Okay, sorry. Now, also pass down the props from constructor. And then we'll add states. So let's say this, sorry, dot states photo value. Okay, now so all we want to actually do is this. We want to make sure that whatever that's actually being typed inside from these inputs, okay, is actually being, once you click on submit, we actually log it to the console. Okay, now to actually do that, we are going to actually write a couple of methods first of all, from the okay, yeah, we have a couple of methods, first of all, to help us actually achieve that. First of all, we want to get the value of what is even being typed or inside the input field, and that's one of the reasons why we're using why we actually had to initialize state here, which is value equal to an empty string. So let's actually work on this. So one thing we want to do is want to get this. Now, in React, okay, let me first of all talk about JavaScript. Now, in JavaScript, there are many ways you can actually get inputs, the value of an input. Okay. Now, one of the ways you can actually get the value of an input in JavaScript is by using you could do something like this. Okay, let me just scribble something down. Let's say I wanted to submit the form. You could say um, submit form. Okay, submit form. That's, let's say, for example, okay, now one of the things we also have to take note of is that why we use controlled components is that controlled components make it in such a way that React actually handles most of the things about the DOM manipulation and all of those for us. So all we just have to worry about is actually directing React way in which React is supposed to move, or the direction which React is actually supposed to, okay, like do, which is actually what the state is for. like tell React, okay, I want you to do this, and React actually bothers with how it's actually going to get what we want it to do done. Okay, so this is just an instance. Now, let's say, for example, you were working on a JavaScript file and you wanted to submit a form. Normally, what we'll do is this: we'll say now the form. Once the form is submitted, okay, you use submit keyword. So you say submit, and oh, sorry, I think I omitted something. Submit form dot add. We use something like this event listener. Now, after a dot add event listener submit, it takes on a second variable which is a callback. Now, for the callback, we add the e, which is supposed to be the event object, and all we return first of all is to prevent the default. Now, once you prevent default, that makes it possible for JavaScript to actually have control over the form, and then we could actually get what is actually inside the form. Now, then we do something like this: inputs, yeah, dot. You could add another add event listener, or we could just say dot on change. Uh, input dot on inputs. Either one, we use add event listener again. Let me just get this from here. And I'm just trying to um, explain something to us here, so I need to do this. So we do inputs as the event. So once something is inputted, we want something to actually work. Now, when we do that, we go like so. So e. Okay, so then and I'll say e dot. Okay, not e c. Sorry, my bad. Um, just leave this as an anonymous function, and then from here we could do whatever it is we want to do. Whereby we could just console.log and just say input. All right, so this is just me trying to, okay, we just say input of value, sorry. Now, doing this will actually get us the value of whatever that is actually being typed. Well, doing that with JavaScript, that would mean that yes, we are the ones who will be directly manipulating the DOM, but that's not what we want to do. What we wanted to do is just to make sure that React actually does all of this for us. So this on its own will be null and void, and one of the reasons is because we'll be working with states, and React will not let us manipulate the DOM by ourselves. So we'll have to trust React on that one. And now, to do that, what we'll do is we'll add a method here. Okay, so the method, there are a couple of ways that this method can actually work. Okay, so one of the ways is we could just say and add an on change. Okay, the change is going to be this the handle. Sorry. This is the handle change. Right, so create that method here by saying handle change. Now, about methods and classes, there are two ways we could actually do this. So we could use the ES5 way, which is by doing this, and we pass in the event variable. and just do this, and then we'll just initialize this so that all right, let me show you guys what I mean. All right, this dot handle chain. Okay, it's a handle chain. It's equal to this dot is a handle change dot bind. All right, so now if we did this, I will come inside here. Okay, let me change this to change. Now, and we set the value. We say this dot set state. And inside set state, we set state to value, which is this. This is going to be event dot target dot value. All right, so now if we do this, we save. Now we go back and check our work. Okay, I think I did a little typo somewhere. Alright, this is supposed to be handle, not handle. Sorry about that. So if I refresh now, okay, so okay, let me control log this first. Alright, so let's see. Just do console.log and you could actually set the value to this dot state dot value. Okay. Alright, so we just type in something here and see from and oh, okay, yeah, it's actually showing. Yeah, so what I actually wanted to explain was that yes, this dot state the value. Yeah, we could actually get the input of whatever that's being typed and plug it to the console. But I have a question for you guys. This line on line 9, can anybody explain this line? Who understands what this line is doing? Yeah, okay. Anybody who understands what line 9 is actually doing? Okay. Right. Past components are not that hard. Okay, let's not put it that way. Um, anybody can actually explain what line 9 is actually doing. This line 9. There's something I want to explain to you guys first before I move on. Any hands? Anybody has any idea? Look at it clearly. It is line number 9. This is line number 9. I'm not talking about this function here. Okay. Line number 9 that says this dot handle change is equal to this dot handle change dot bind this. So any of us, anyone, okay, binding the handle change method to the constructor. Thank you very much. Yes, actually binding this to the constructor so that we could actually use this handle change everywhere. Okay. Now the reason why we're doing this is because of the scope of uh, functions in ES5. Okay, before the advent of ES6, where functions the introduction to arrow functions and the introduction to lexical scoping, we had to work like this. Okay, which was basically a way, okay, to, like Emmanuel said, yeah, to bind and to change method to the constructor, because constructor, like we know, is one of the very most important. In fact, it's one of the first thing that you have to write whenever you're writing a class component or a class construct, a class in JavaScript. Okay, not just JavaScript. I think most programming languages too. So, but with the advent of ES6, we will not have to go through the stress of writing this code again. So, what we would have just done is just going to be this. We we have converted this into um, a functional, okay, to an arrow function per se. So that I'll save this. Let's check. All right, so it still works since we can't see any error. Okay, so if I keep typing, whatever I do type, just keep showing. So it means it's actually working. Okay, so now let me take this off. Okay, so now let's say after we finish typing whatever it is we want to type, then we want to submit the form. How do we actually submit the form? So then we could come down here and we could do an on submit. All right. Now inside the on submit, we do a handle. Let's see. I'm sorry. Uh, do a handle submit. All right. So not just handle submit. Um, this handle submit. Now what we could do is this. Here we could say handle submit. Then we equal to takes in a parameter which is the event object, and do this. And all we want to do is submit. First of all, we want to prevent the default action. So, like we said, once you click on submit, normally the default action is like go to the page and actually show us what's actually what we actually typed inside, but we don't want that. So we want to take this off. Hmm. Okay, so since that's actually working well, so I think we will be able to see that let's see. All right, so now handle submit gives us this, and we take the event and we want to prevent default. Now after preventing default, what we want to happen is that we want to control the log is dot state dot value. All right, so all right, so I think this works. So we will actually check this. I beg, spell your name, no complaint. So because the let's see, click submit. Okay, let's see what's wrong. Okay, went default. Alright, so now you see that it's actually being locked inside. So, alright, okay, so about that, are there any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, I think then I'll just continue. Okay, um, hope you guys can still hear me clearly. Can you guys still hear me? Alright, good. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to confirm so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so now next thing. Now, after being able to look what we are actually getting from the form to the console, we let's take this a little bit further. Okay. Now, all we want to do is this. Now, since we've actually set the value and done all of those, now this is just a typical example of what control elements is actually all about. Okay, so we could actually do this for you know other elements too. Although with control components, okay, the inputs, the input element is actually always being driven by React. So, like I said, everything we do, React actually watches and manages over all of them for us because, like the name says, control. So React controls it for us, okay? And this way, it's actually easier for us to be able to set the value on our own. All right. So although it means I will have to type a lot more code because if you looked at the on the guide did in the tutorial I gave you, it was kind of a whole lot more easier using functional components. Okay, so let's go over to the next form element that we'll be talking about for today, and that is the text area. Text area is kind of like the same thing with inputs, nothing much really. Alright, so let's say for example we have something like this. Let me just copy this and paste. Okay, before I do that, let's see this. So this if now the reason why we're doing this is just so like forms are label inputs, they're all inline elements, so we want to just give them a break from each other so it doesn't worry us. You don't stay side by side. Alright, so I think that's just what we wanted to do. Just to copy this and just create a div of our own. Okay, so I think I have much. Then we just add text area there, and I think we're good to go. All right, so like the input in React, a text area actually uses a value attribute instead to show the value of what is actually inside. Now, this way, a form using a text area can be written very similar to a form that uses a single input or a single line input. All right, so what do we mean? So just change this from input to text area. Okay, so as simple as this, and we have been able to change the function, or what I say function, we're able to change the DOM element from being an input to being a text area. Now, all these are actually working together. Okay, so let's say, for example, we want something else to be locked down here, and let's see. Okay, all right. So let's see. Let's see this. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry about this. Okay. So yeah. All right. So for if what's it called? For text area, so what we could actually do is this. Still the same thing, but we just change some things in it. Now handle change. So what handle change will actually target this time around is not going to okay add value here. I think we're missing something. So um, we do this. Just change this to description. That text goes. We may not need you. All right. So value. Hmm. So just say this dot state dot description value. Now, because that's what I want to use for it. And this change the handle submit, and then now on handle change. Once the handle change, what do we want to get from handle change? Just come here and say this dot set state. Uh, okay, and say it's okay. No, instead of value, we use this value. All right, so uh, let's see. Let's see. Then dot target dot value. Oh, sorry about it's not value, it's value. Okay, so sorry about the messy code, guys. Sometimes some things just skip your head. All right, so about this, let's save this and let's see what we have. All right, so But this lot of data is not set. Okay. Okay. I think the reason for this is because of this guy. So let me see. Okay, so let's see if this works. Let's. All right. So, oh, that this data is still the same thing. Let's see. Oh, causing this. Oh, oh, which one can we apply again? Set states. Not apply anything. So, oh, let's see. And then handle description change. Okay. So, all right. So let's see. Run. Okay, I think I must have done something very funny. Um, that's this value. Alright, so these are going to be these are going to be heights. Oh, uh, okay. So sorry about that, guys. Yeah. So let's type now. Come here and type it, and I click on submit. Okay, it submits all of them. We don't submit the second one. That's because we didn't log the second one to the console. So just come here and say this dot state dot this value and say, so now I want to type here, come here and type here, and click on submit. Now you see that all the text actually come up. So sorry about that, guys. Any questions? So basically, we are beginning to understand the flow of forms now, right? So basically, forms are very straightforward and easy to understand. If you want to use forms as controlled components. That way, it's easier. It's a whole lot easier to use, and it's a whole lot easier to work with than using them as uncontrolled components. Now, the reason why I gave you guys that article was because I wanted you guys to see the difference between controlled components and uncontrolled components, so that it's actually going to be a whole lot easier for you guys to understand and know which one to use and which one not to use. Okay, so I think I'll just change this from name to something like bio. Okay, now this doesn't end here, so I think this is just for what's it called? Okay, this is just for bio or for text area. So we'll just go further to discuss about the other tags. Let's say, for example, we have the select tag that's used to select from a variety of options. So this is how we would use the select tag. So now, uh, normally with the select tag in HTML, we'll basically just try to select like so. We'll do this. We'll just come and say select, and for now let's just remove this. We don't want to bother about any of this. And then options. All right, so let's just call this roots. Now inside this we have option, and we have value. So get grip, and we have grip. Okay, so let's see. We'll just copy this a couple of times. Uh, let's just call this line. We'll just call this whatever it is we want to call it. We'll call this tangerine. Uh, Still thinking of something to use to call this one. Let's just say pineapple. Alright, so you just come here and alright, so and this. Alright, so now with this, or we could just add this and say selected. Now if you see this, I will check. Okay. Alright, so like I said, like we used here, um, although it's not really best practice, or it's actually going to drive down the point home for us, drive home the point for us. So uh, now selected, whichever one that the attribute selected is actually on, will actually play here. So we'll actually access it and try to, get something else and all. For now, in as much as that works, that's not uh, a very good way to do it. Now, React would use, instead of using this selected tag to get what is actually going to be selected, React will use a value. Now, as React is actually using a value, it doesn't mean that this one is actually going to be lost uh, or displayed, although it's actually going to be taken care of because we'll be using value instead of selected to actually pinpoint which one. So I think we'll do that. So let's just go over to that now. So let's see. So we have select and we have options and we have value. Now, all would have rather done was to select from this list of things. Let's select, we could do value. Um, okay, so just see. So, oops, I am sorry. my keyboard just keeps pressing itself. To say this dot state. Uh, okay, I think we'll just create a value for this on the fly, and we'll just call this um, cell bar, and just take this and come to where state is and just create cell bar. Just see this dot state dot. I'll paste it here. Now after pasting this here, oops, why is it wrong with this? Okay, I'll leave it there, and let's see. We have cell bar. Okay, so let's see where it is we are making the error. Okay, and it's here. All right, so all right, very good. So we've gotten that. Now all we just have to do is just make it show, and for us to do that, we add the unchange handler. So basically, I'm just showing us how to work with each and every element on, let's say, okay, not like each and every element, but what we are doing here will apply for all elements regardless. So, although there are some exceptions too, so I'll just show us that later on change. Mm, mm. Okay, so change is going to be equal to this, sorry, this dot handle select. So let's call this is the handle select. Okay, so which is still going to be something like this. So it just mm, all right. So call this handle select, take the event and set. Okay, so select value. Okay, okay, sorry. Use the server. Alright, so okay, so I think this is this, and let's see what we have. Okay, I think I didn't take that off. So let me see. Okay, I took it off. So you should refresh the page and check it out. Alright, so no questions. So then we could actually okay, returns an empty string of undefined, and let's see the reason why that is, and that's because let's find out why that's actually giving us such an issue. Okay, so you actually state the value. The value is very important. This state of values will unchanged. This handle select. Uh, select actually event. This is state very important. Right. So this set state event. This is set states when we call the event is going to be event of target dot value. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Still no idea why it should be like this. Okay, so let's see. Let me change this from what it was now to gray. Okay, so let's see. Make pineapple false. Okay. Um, what is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Okay, so let's see. Alright, so see this. Fresh. You have to come back and do something else. Okay, that actually not undefined because we have actually yeah, we have this dot state dot cell value selected value. Okay, so before we go further, sorry, please guys, any questions so far? Any questions? Let me just take one or two questions before we continue. Okay, okay, so all clear. All right, good. So since this is all clear, and I think this is going to be the last class that we'll have for React physics and the concepts. I think come our next class, we'll just be building a project with React. We'll start building one project with React so that we see how we can actually use React in live action. Okay, so this handle is, okay, I think we got this settled. Is there a question? You don't understand states yet. Okay, sorry, I think that's for Motayo. Motayo Jala. Motayo, please, what's your question exactly?
Hello, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good
Uh,
afternoon.
I don't understand it yet, but I'm sure once I rewatch the video, I will go back to the video, sure. Probably in the next class.
Okay,
Thanks,
okay,
sir.
okay. All right. So, well, what exactly is your issue? Let's see if we can tackle it here first.
Uh, from the use of states, although I didn't really join the class very early, so I only have issues with that use of states where I don't know if I can go back to the code.
Okay. All right. So, where exactly?
I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, okay. 1 minute. I think I'll have to stop sharing and share again. Um, okay. Can you see my screen now?
No, I'm only seeing my name.
Yeah, but you can see your name on my screen, right?
Yes, yeah.
Alright. So you can actually see you can see the screen now, right? The code now, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Okay, so what was the issue?
There's a place we use states. Can you move on, please? Okay, where we handled submits. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how you like what you did. Okay, oh, your screen is up again.
Okay. 1 minute. And, okay, so you don't know why we use what?
This dot state dot value. This dot state dot text value and the like.
Okay, this dot state dot desk value. Oh, this was state dot value.
Yeah,
Sorry, right?
yes,
Okay, why we are using this dot state dot value, right?
yes.
Okay, the reason we are using this dot state is because we are using a class component. As we are using functional components, we'll not even bother about using this dot state. Okay, we'll just do we'll use the use state hooks and then we'll just you know go right in and use set states and okay, not set state. Yes, I think kind of like set state was an abbreviated version of it. So I don't know if you understand. It's because we're using class components. That's why you're seeing this dot state dot value almost everywhere. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. I will download the video and watch from the beginning.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. You're welcome. All right. So apart from that, then let's move on. Okay. So oh no, I want to get to why can't actually get this thing now on change. Want to handle change. All we want to get is the value of the server. Okay. Then you have to check if you have any typo in our code or something. All right. So okay. Now there are no typos. So let's try to see why this guy didn't actually update. So it's returning an empty string. Okay. So uh, on those select. Alright. Oh, it's not supposed to be self value. I think that's the function. This is supposed to be value. Click this. Now can. You guys can see my screen. Okay. So now it actually refresh. And whatever it is you type in here now, you type in something, so we get those details back. Okay, so basically this is just basically how forms actually work. But as we go further, we'll see how we can actually add more values. Okay, now there's also one thing that I also want to touch with you guys, and that's how to use multiple values in your select. I think the way we actually do that is you come here, okay, and make value an array. Okay, okay, sorry. Um, okay, now inside this, copy this, and let's see. Just say um, actually B. Okay, and basically we just have to specify a couple of things and just say that. Alright, set default to true. So this way we'll be able to use this and get multiple values. Okay. Now, one other input tag that we haven't worked on is the file input element. And the reason why we've not worked on that one is because the file input element doesn't really, it's a read-only element, so you cannot update it. You can only just, you cannot use JavaScript to actually edit it. All you can actually just do is just get the file you are working on, and that's all. But apart from that, I think we actually discussed almost everything. And yeah, like I said, it's the read only. The file, the input of like file is actually a read only. It is an uncontrolled element in React, and I think that's just what we're discussing. So for now, any questions? I would like to just see if there's anyone that has any questions or so that they want to talk about. Okay, so if there is none, actually, I wanted to just discuss forms with us and help us see how we could actually use that. Now, so one of the things is using controlled elements, control components. I keep saying controlled elements. Control components are actually the best we could use in writing forms. This popular JavaScript library, which is called, I think, Forming, like not JavaScript, for React, forms for handling form submission in React. Forming was actually uh, built based on using what's it called? Um, based on using control components. Okay, so the class for today is just going to be all about forms now. If there are any questions regarding that we haven't touched on, we could actually just save them and let's just handle them now. But apart from that, I don't think there's anything much. So we could actually use this as a hint our in the task I gave you guys on actually getting the result of the input and then displaying it on the floor. We could actually work on that. I think I'm going to give that as a task for you guys and then come next class, which is on Thursday. That's when I'm actually going to do that. So I'll be doing that and then doing the correction together. Because if I do that now, it's going to serve as an expo or something. So I don't actually work on that at the moment. But all right, let's handle one or two more events and I think we'll be done. Okay, so like I said, we could handle multiple controlled input elements. And one of the reasons we could do that is by using the name attributes on each element and helping the handler function actually choose what to do based on the target name. Okay, so like all we mean is, let's say for example we have a checkbox. Okay, something that needs a truthy or falsy value for it to actually work very well. So we could actually do that. Okay, for example, uh, let's say we wanted to handle one. Okay, let me get this. Okay, now what we actually want to get here is this. Now, we want to get not this select, so we'll just change this to let's say uh, gender. Okay, let's just try gender. All right, so now inside this we okay. So now inside this, all we need us to is just get input with the type, which is checkbox. Okay, so now we got that, and then let's just say uh, just say gender, type is checkbox, right? So okay, so type checkbox gender is all right. So okay, so let's see. Let's get what happens when we check or we click on this checkbox. And like we usually do, first things first is to set our states. So let's see, set it to gender. Okay, let's set it to okay. All right, so set it to true, and then what I want to find out now is okay. Trying once you check the checkbox, what happens when you check the checkbox? Okay, now you do that. Okay, so value is going to be so value is going to be okay. So not sure if it's going to value. There guys, I'm just going to do this correct. So this is going to check and inside check we'll get this state for gender. Okay. Now on change change we just do something very convenient. Right, yeah, so change, yeah, change. Get the photo. Okay, so this under. Okay, so this does not handle this is a handle check. Okay, so this is a handle check. Let's go. Alright, so check the photo events. I hope you guys can hear me clearly, so I don't just keep talking to myself. Please, if you can hear me, just say something so I don't have to repeat myself while talking. Okay, so this is
Hey,
handle state. So, you guys can hear me, right?
yes.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. So now, all I actually want to do is to get the value of the checkbox whenever it is checked. Now, to get the value of the checkbox whenever it is checked, we are going to use the name parameter. Okay, the name parameter of the checkbox whenever it is checked. That's what we're actually going to do. So what we'll do is we initialize it, and then once we call the event handler that's actually going to check it. Now what we want to check is we get the target. Now check the value of the target. Now what type is it now? If it is if it has been checked or it has not been checked. Okay, so if it has been checked, then I want to drop the value of what was checked. If not, I want to drop the next value. Okay, so um, get that. Is all good. Okay, let's leave this here. Now, what else? See, let's target. Oh, yeah, target. Um, see, let value is going to now. Or we're going to check if target type is equivalent to checkbox. Um, then you define the checkbox, and then all I want to do is target object. Well, target of value. Okay, so now I think that's just one. Then next thing we want to get is that, let's say, comes in. Now this is actually going to what is going to assign if it is checked or not. Now this first one was actually checking to see if we did check, if we clicked on the checkbox, if we did, and then what's actually going to show. So this is going to be okay. So target the name. Okay, so sets and structuring name. Alright, so we as it hits, want to say check. Uh, okay, so next thing, let's see the reason why this is so wrong. Okay, let's handle check. Okay, so alright, so basically I think this is all that we'll be handling for today. In our field, I don't want to go past my time. Okay. Okay, so, yes, the sense is actually stuck in the state. But let's think, okay, this is with regards to your question. Yes, you can actually be using another field. But since you're actually storing everything using states, then your state is going to have to be on the global scope, not on that particular element. Maybe you pass the data using props. Okay. Yeah. So basically, I think we are done for today. Because now I think this is all we cover in just forms. Uh, Form on Thursday will continue from where we stopped and we'll cover the remaining section, which is how to. Okay, it's basically just going to be a correction of the assignment I gave you guys, and and from there move on to something more serious. I think it's something you guys are waiting for, which is how to create web pages, how to use React to create web pages like you use your HTML to do. Okay, so I think that I can do it. Okay, yes. It's actually for the button, not for checkbox. I think I made a mistake here. Emmanuel, thank you very much. Okay, so but then I think this is where we call it the game class. So before we go, if you have any questions, you can ask. If not, then just classes so we get to go way ahead of time. Alright. So I'll just give you 5 minutes lab for those who want, 5 minutes for those who have questions. Any questions at all, either this class related or last class, whichever one. If you have any questions, please you can ask now. Okay. Um, if there are no questions, then I think now will be a very good time for the host to end, because I think we are basically done for today. So I think with these few pieces, you guys will actually do something together the assignment I gave you guys and then work on it. All right. Um, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. So we'll see each other on Thursday. So you guys just stay prepared. All right. Until then, I will stop sharing the screen and